Welcome to the Wrestle Factor Podcast. My name is Josh. Join with me as always, my brother Jay.
Sup?
And oh my god, this week was so hard to score for the Fantasy League.
Yep.
Lots of pay-per-view matches, a brand new title, which we'll get on to a bit later, what the title is about and what we think of it. But before we get into our thoughts and opinions on the shows this week, there's obviously a new rule change because of the new title.
So many, changes going on, especially here in Wrestle Factor.
Yes.
So,
the new 24/7 championship that was introduced, like I said, we'll talk about more later what it means, what we think of it. But it's affected the points a little bit because a wrestler can just win it pretty much at any point. It's not always part of like an actual match.
yes.
So we've added a new rule to our championships category, and I'll post the rules again in the description. The 24/7 championship, unless it is a sanctioned match, meaning Bell starts the match, Bell finishes the match, whatever.
Yes.
Superstars do not get match appearance or match loss points, but they instead just get 1 point for a standard appearance or 2 points if they begin that match as a champion of any kind. Whether you started as a 24/7 champion or if Finn Balor wants to start it as Intercontinental Champion, go for it. He can do that too, whatever.
Yeah.
So like I said, unless the bell starts the match, you won't lose points for getting pinned or anything, but you also won't get extra points for appearing in a match. It's just basically treated as a regular segment.
Yes.
So, as if the points weren't hard enough to keep up with, we have to add that whole thing into there. But
Which, we're hoping to, simplify later on.
yes, whenever Season 2 rolls around in SummerSlam, we want to have a, not a brand new, but like a refined set of rules for the next season.
Something that's much easier to follow.
Much easier to follow and also gives points to people that clearly are more deserving of them. We noticed a lot when assigning points this week that people that were featured heavily in the shows, like AJ Styles, for example, he wasn't getting any points because he was just in a match and then he would lose it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, people that were in a talking segment but weren't in a match to lose it were getting points. Even like the Lucha House Party each got 2 points on Money in the Bank because they were in a promo spot, not in a match, but AJ got nothing.
Yeah.
Whenever AJ was clearly booked
And a very high-profile match for the Universal
for
Championship.
a world title, yeah.
Yeah.
So we want to make a change. We're still figuring it out, but we want to make a change so that people who deserve more points get more points.
Exactly.
So that all out of the way, let's talk about Money in the Bank. Brock Lesnar has returned and is the new Mr. Money in the Bank. It hurts me just to say it.
Ugh.
Audible disgust.
Here we go once again.
Here we go again. Now,
Brock Lesnar appearances are like his suplexes. There's just too many, and I don't know where I was going with that. Actually,
that was like too many appearances. Like,
I don't know. It just seems like it's the same old thing. It's not really changing. I mean, I don't know. At least he's not occupying a title.
Now, when I watched the finish to Money in the Bank, of course I knew that someone was going to get involved in one way or another. I didn't know how it was going to happen. That's what you watch the show for, to find out. I was not at all expecting Brock Lesnar.
I feel like if they had at least teased that there was going to be like a new person in the match, like, Sammy got incapacitated, Braun got sent home. If they're like, there will be an 8th member competing, maybe there was at least that, but no. Brock just came out and apparently he was in the match.
And they did foreshadow a little bit because Sami Zayn was taken out and there's like, I guess it's 7 people now. Like, of course someone's going to get involved, whatever.
Yeah.
But he came out at the end. He knocked the ladder over with Ali on it, climbed it, grabbed the briefcase, and they declared him the winner. And as I was watching, I was like, what?
Yeah.
They made no announcement that he was officially in the match, nothing, which you kind of think would be important to do.
Pretty much.
But he, like I said, he's Mr. Money in the Bank now. And as annoyed as I was with the finish of this match, and now he is back and in such a prominent role for that, he's now holding a coveted item thing that people want, and he's not going to be there all the time.
I mean, there were so many more people that you could totally build using that, but once again, they're just slapping
Andrade.
Andrade, yes.
Cough, cough.
Especially Andrade, because then we would have tied.
But as annoyed as I was that he won, something I thought about earlier today. So the whole rumor was that they wanted to build up the person who won the briefcase as a star. What they didn't specify was maybe they're going to take a year to do that. So if Brock wins, that now brings more, I guess, prestige back to the briefcase, because someone like, oh, whoever wins next year, they're gonna hold the same title that Brock Lesnar had last year. He was Mr. Money in the Bank. It kind of like subconsciously puts them maybe on the same level as Brock Lesnar in some way. So maybe they never specified that they were going to do that this year. So maybe they're just taking this year to build it back up, and that whoever wins it next year, it'll be a much bigger deal. Yeah. That's the only saving grace I kind of saw from this.
I mean, perhaps.
I'm choosing to believe that.
Perhaps, but at the same time, I feel like Money in the Bank is more for that mid-carder that can go to the main event. Whereas just by putting it on Brock Lesnar, it's like, you've already had this guy with the title for so long. What's the point of him having this? Like, hopefully it'll be pretty entertaining. The stare down that they had on Raw with, both champions there and waiting for Brock to try and cash in. That was pretty interesting. I'll give him that. And
I will say that part is what I want out of a Money in the Bank holder. I want someone who's going to threaten to cash in all the time, and then he backs off, he never does, and then he'll actually cash in when you kind of don't expect it. Or you'll just think, oh, he's crying wolf again or whatever. It's like, oh my God, he's actually doing it this time.
Because Money in the Bank is one of those great gimmicks that we see throughout the year, and you almost feel kind of cheated whenever somebody cashes in, like the night of or a month or two later. Like, I want that, suspense to be built up over months. Like, why haven't you done it? You've had so many options to do it. It's like, I'll do it when I'm ready.
Right.
So
I don't know. I'm choosing to believe that just so that I don't get too frustrated with seeing Brock holding the briefcase.
Yeah.
Because you know that he doesn't need it.
No.
You know that he can kind of just muscle his way into a title picture whenever he wants.
Exactly.
You wanted to talk about something else from Money in the Bank.
Yeah, it was a thought I kind of had, because it's happened quite a bit, at least in WWE, specifically about the cage match. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, there have been times where, you can win a cage match by pinfall or submission, but nobody wants to see that,
Right.
And, like, everybody always wants to see, like, the dramatic, clawing through the cage door or, falling from the top, outside and winning the match.
Right.
And so, like, I kind of came up with the question of, do you feel cheated whenever, a cage match or, I guess more generically, if a gimmick match doesn't end in, like, a gimmick way? If you, are you disappointed whenever a cage match doesn't end via escape? Was the main question.
I think I would be okay with it if the cage itself kind of played into the finish, like in that instance. Like, I don't know, like, we'll just use the example from Money in the Bank. If Shane and Miz are in the cage match, and say Miz, for one reason or another, like, they're fighting, say they're fighting at the top of the cage, they're trying to both get out or whatever. If Miz suplexes Shane from the top of the cage, and then that's what puts him down for the pinfall, I think I'd be okay with that. Yeah. That's obviously like a high spot, whatever. But no, if the cage itself or the gimmick in question doesn't pertain to the finish of the match, then yeah, I feel like it's pointless. It's just to maybe pop a rating or maybe to get more tickets sold or something.
Yeah.
A false count anywhere match, if you just pin him in the middle of the ring, is there really any point to them fighting anywhere else?
Not really.
So yeah, I never really thought about that, but I mean, it's a good point. So yeah.
Because whenever you have, stipulations like that, like the match between, I think, JBL and Big Show, where they had the barbed wire steel cage, so it's like, you can't really escape. But yet they had the spot where Big Show chokeslams JBL through the ring, and JBL wins because he crawls out from under the ring. So he technically still escaped. Like,
yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous, but it's like, that's the point of wrestling.
Yeah.
Is to be kind of ridiculous sometimes.
It is to be ridiculous. They're larger-than-life characters.
So it's to have loopholes like that.
Right.
It's like, who was expecting that,
Yeah. Honestly, I love getting swerved. Even sometimes if it's a bad thing, like, I still enjoy, like, dude, they thought of something I never would have thought of. And like, if you gave me like 2 months to come up with something, I would not have thought of that.
I like getting swerved if it doesn't involve Brock Lesnar.
Same.
All right.
You also pointed out something else for Money in the Bank.
Yeah, apparently, Bailey cashing in the night of, which, I think we just talked about, like, not saving it, but whatever. Good moment for her.
I like Bailey, so whatever.
She decided to celebrate with the crowd a bit, and whenever she comes back out,
Go on.
she's standing up on the ring steps,
Yes.
and she holds up the title, and there's just this big old Band-Aid stuck to one of the side plates. Very used, as you can tell. It's only halfway stuck on there, and a little breeze kicks it up, and you see this blood splotch. Yeah, it's pretty nasty.
I didn't see that on the show, but that's funny that you pointed it out.
I thought that was great. Like, this big moment. It's just like I think whenever Natalia won the belt from Naomi, and like, oh, I get to celebrate with this, light up toy, not the real title. You know? It's like, oh, great, I get to celebrate with the Band-Aid belt.
Band-Aid belt. We call her Bailey Band-Aid belt for this.
Yes.
All right, that's pretty much it for Money in the Bank. Didn't want to talk about everything. Thought there were some good matches. Actually, before we move on, I did want to talk about maybe like the overall rating, what you thought the best part of the night was. Personally, I thought the best match of the night was for the Universal title. It was kind of hard to pick because I loved the Cruiserweight match as well, but I'm not invested in those characters like I am with Seth and AJ.
Plus, they had a little, I guess you could say, botch or slip up halfway through the match. I think the crowd kind of soured after that. Daivari was going for some sort of like inverted Boston Crab, but he fell in the middle of it. I don't know. That's kind of where I got sour on it. So.
Botches, even if it's like the slightest thing, botches can kind of like turn your attention or turn your enjoyment off in a way.
Because it's like, oh, I've got the upper hand, but I just fell over. It's like, do I keep going with it?
Right.
Or do you come back now?
Speaking of, there were a couple in the women's Money in the Bank match that I noticed. Kind of early on, they were like knocking around the ladders and stuff, and I can't remember who it was, but they knocked over a ladder and it hit Bailey right in the hip, and it cut her actually. Not too deep or anything, but
I thought it hit her more in the thigh.
It was like on the left side of her stomach, kind of, because I saw the cut later.
Oh, I'm sure it hurt no matter where it landed.
And you can see her like turning as it's falling down, and it just like blindsides her. She's like, oh, like it hurt.
It's like, but I'm winning the title later. It's worth it.
Yeah, she's like, gotta stay in, man.
It's like, you can't act like you're hurt, or else they'll change that.
And then everyone saw this part. Carmella was like, I guess, gonna set up the ladder or something. It was still laying on its edge there.
Yeah.
Mandy Rose comes by and kicks the ladder closed over Carmella's knee.
I think that was supposed to be it. Yeah.
And you could see like Mandy was gonna go like do another move to Carmella or something, and she kept just pushing her away, like, no, like, get away or whatever. And then she's like, taken out of the ring, examined by the doctors. They take her backstage, and then she like made her quote unquote triumphant return, but it didn't really pay off or anything. So I still am trying to figure out if like how legit she was injured, if it was meant to happen or what. If it was meant to happen, it was very poorly executed.
Yeah, the way she was selling it seemed like no, like, get away from me, like, I'm actually hurt, like why would you hurt me, like, type of thing.
But at that point, why would you not just like roll out of the ring?
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, what would you give your overall rating for Money in the Bank out of 5?
I would give it a real solid 4 out of 5.
I would too.
Besides the Cruiserweights kind of being a low point, nothing against them. The show was just really well booked.
Yeah.
The whole SmackDown women's title thing, that did take a while, not gonna lie.
It did.
Because you went from the Raw women's title straight into that match.
Into the SmackDown.
Which that ended, which went straight into the cash-in and everything.
So, yeah.
It was a pretty long-running segment, but
although
the crowd still popped quite a bit.
It worked for the angle they were trying to book. With Bailey cashing in, I don't think it would have worked as well if they had separated out like we thought. I think keeping them all back to back really helped.
Plus, I think actually having the thing where Lacey interferes, that unfortunately keeps the story going for Becky and her title on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
it allows Charlotte to win, so people are kind of disappointed, but once Bayley comes out and she wins the title from her, people are happy again.
Yeah.
Because, like, oh, great, Charlotte's champion again. Oh, wait, she's not champion now.
Yeah.
And then she celebrates with the Band-Aid belt.
Band-Aid belt.
What would your overall rating be for the show?
I agree. 4 out of 5. I also think that it was pretty well booked. None of the matches felt like they were too long. I wasn't tired at the end of it. Well, I mean, I was. I had to get up for work the next morning.
Yeah.
But I still enjoyed it. I wanted to keep watching. At no point did I feel like... Well, I'll take that back. The Lucha House Party bit, I felt like could have been omitted from the entire show.
You didn't need that?
Because they were supposed to come out for a 6-man tag, and the other team was never announced. They got canceled because of Lars, whatever. Aside from that, I thoroughly enjoyed this show. I would say I enjoyed it more than WrestleMania. One of their better pay-per-views this year.
Time-wise, yes.
Well, of course. Every show is better than Mania time-wise.
Considering this whole pay-per-view was like the equivalent of the pre-show.
This was only 3.5 hours.
Yeah. And just think if you
only one pre-show match that was actually good.
Yeah. If you didn't have the Lucha House Party, it could have been just 3.
Yeah.
Plus shortening the Elias Reigns match to just like a quick angle. That was fantastic.
It wasn't Rest Hold City.
Yes. You just got to see that on SmackDown.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to Raw. Decent show this week. It wasn't crap like the weeks before, or before last week. Last week was a good show, but everything before that was crap. Anyway. Yeah. What I really liked this week, the Revival actually had a match against the Usos, and the Revival won, and it was a very good match.
And they celebrated by shaving each other's backs.
Right. Trying to find it in my notes here. Sorry.
Right, because they're not just bros helping each other out. They just do that for fun, right? Like that's the joke.
Yeah. At one point, there was a lot of near falls in the match, and at one point, Dash Wilder hit a tornado DDT off the barricade. I don't know. I thought that spot was just really impressive.
Yeah.
But they gave him plenty of time to do the match. They got the win on him, and then they were all like celebrating backstage. Interrupting Alexa and Nikki. It was just, I don't know. It's just really funny to me.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that they actually had a match, and it wasn't. I think maybe the fans complaining about the goofy, like childish pranks finally got through a little bit because there was none. They addressed it, but there was none of that this week. It was, like I said, just a straight up match, and they won. Yeah. It was really good. Moving on. Okay, one thing I've been really excited for is Bray Wyatt to finally show up in the show, not just have these video packages. I'm enjoying them, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it's still good.
I want to see where he's going. But what they did this week is they just, their episode of Firefly Funhouse was essentially just like an extended version of the intro song they do. And it turned it into like distorted images of like children. The theme music distorted quite a bit. Yeah. And they kind of spliced in some images of his mask. Kind of just keeps it going, something to hold us over. And I think the reason they did this is because Bray just had his first child. So I think
first with JoJo, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know how many kids he has, whatever. But I don't know how far in advance they do these video packages. But I assume that's the reason why he wasn't really on this week. Regardless, I'm still excited. Still can't wait to see where it goes. Mm-hmm. And the final thing I want to talk about for Raw is we addressed at the beginning, so we were going to talk about it. The new 24/7 championship title. I almost forgot what it was called.
The 24/7 championship.
Yeah. Well, I like spaced out for a second. Anyway.
Oh God, it's so ugly, right?
I actually don't mind the title design.
I thought it looked good.
I thought it looked more like a classic belt.
It's different.
It looks like a vinyl record.
I like that. I've become
I like that they were smart enough to not include a nameplate or side plates on there because of how frequently it can change.
Yeah.
Like it's just a basic design, and I like it. I would prefer it's not green leather, but
yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that could be something that could change like from time to time.
What's so hard just about making a belt black?
Yeah, they're all black for the most part.
Well, except for the women's and the Intercontinental.
Yeah,
and the Cruiserweight.
Yeah.
And the Greatest Royal Rumble belt.
Yeah,
where is that, by the way? We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that.
Talk about that. You get these hands. Anyway.
Or just take the belt. I don't want it.
So we've already had 3 champions this week.
Yes.
We had a initial scramble for the belt. Titus O'Neil won it. immediately attacked by Robert Roode, who gets the pin and becomes the new champion. And then the last hour or so of Raw is kind of, they keep showing bits of Roode kind of running backstage, avoiding the other wrestlers, trying to keep his title. Eventually gets tricked by R-Truth into getting pinned, and then Truth is the new, as he calls it, European champion. He takes it to SmackDown. He's backstage in disguise, hiding from everyone, 10 feet away from someone who's looking for him, by the way. Yeah. Carmella instantly recognized him, but Apollo Crews could not.
Well, all the undercard is looking for him, yes. Which, like, they should have plenty of... With how many there are and how much time they have, because they're not going to be on the show, like, you think they would find them already.
You'd think, but whatever. I think Truth is a really good person to hold the belt for a while.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's obviously like a comedy kind of thing anyway, and Truth nails that.
It's a vehicle for his character, basically. Yeah. It's like the way his character thinks. It's very perfect.
He's like, I've held it for 24 hours. I only got 7 more to go. And Carmella's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, this is 24 and 7 to go. And then she explains it to him, and pretty much all SmackDown is the same thing. He's running away from the other wrestlers. He almost gets pinned a couple times, but he makes it through the whole show, hold on to the title. Which, we'll see if he's still a champion come Raw next week.
Yeah, which I hope it's not just every week it's a new guy running away from the rest of the roster. Yeah. I hope they get creative with it, like, the champ's eating and catering or whatever, and somebody smacks him with a lunch tray.
I was gonna say someone bashes him with a pizza pan or something.
Yeah, or starts a food fight, and then in the middle of the scuffle, the champion gets pinned and the new champ runs away while somebody throws a pie at Kevin Owens' face.
The people I feel bad for, though, are the referees, because they pretty much just doubled their workload. Poor guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's all predetermined.
Whatever.
The refs know what they're getting into.
But along with this 24/7 championship, Mick Foley was announced that it's going to be like the third hour of Raw is going to be dedicated to being grittier and this and that, whatever. And I noticed this change in the set and everything. They blacked out the crowd. They turned the lights off on the ring post. The stage and the apron were mostly black. It felt much more like they were presenting NXT, which I loved this.
Well, actually NXT is still, at least the TV tapings are still pretty bright and flamboyant.
Well, yeah, because they keep the stage lit up and everything, so it kind of reflects.
My thinking was more it's like that just classic Raw set where all they had was the giant screen. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's pretty much it. That everything else is blackened out. The ramp was darkened. The screen was darkened except for the logo. You had nothing around the ring. The crowd was blacked out. I loved it. I felt like the last hour really focused just on the action in the ring.
Yeah.
And it was great.
And I'll admit it did take me a minute to put 2 and 2 together, because I didn't really... I mean, I heard what he said about the third hour being like grittier and stuff like that, and it being more about the action. I wasn't really paying attention to the stage, and once I finally noticed it, I was like, has the show been like this the whole night?
I noticed that...
Certainly it was. And
I noticed that the lights dimmed down a bit once he announced the title. I think it was like the next segment or two I realized, like, oh, wait, this is going on.
Yeah, I noticed in the Drew and Miz match that it had changed.
Like the third hour is kind of like the late night hour.
Yeah.
Which I think at least they should do that.
Those kids should be in bed anyway.
Exactly. You're thinking about on Eastern time, like that third hour ends at 11. So,
a lot of those kids probably are in bed halfway through the show anyway.
Exactly. So they should have 2-section Raw. You have you have the 2 hours to kind of get that prime time slot, and then you have maybe a little edgier last hour. Why not?
A little bit. It's gonna be hard to be edgy in a PG product, but
edgy as you can. Just have really just focus on that wrestling product for that last hour.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, only the hardcore fans are going to stick around for that full 3-hour show.
Yeah, because it's consistent every week. There's a third-hour drop-off.
Exactly.
From people that don't want to watch 3 hours of wrestling, people that have kids that need to go to bed or got to go to bed for work or whatever. Most people, some people don't stick around for that third hour for one reason or another. But if you give them maybe something cooler to look forward to in that third hour, maybe they'll stay up and watch it.
Honestly, just something I feel like I noticed with the lighting change, it seemed like people were a lot more involved in that third hour. Like, the reactions were... Like, people seemed to be more invested in the matches. Mm-hmm. The reactions were greater.
Yeah, if you don't light up...
Whether it be good or bad. And I feel like it's you know, a complaint that I've had before, that there's just so much going on around the wrestling that people get distracted.
Yeah.
Whenever you have the whole crowd lit up, you
can see the beach balls.
Yeah, you got crowds just looking at other sections of the crowd because something happens.
If the ring is what's lit up, that draws your attention back to the ring no matter what.
Exactly. It's just like whenever you go to a comedy show or a concert or something, all the lights are on the action. Yeah. You don't have any lights on the crowd unless they want them to.
Yeah.
You know. So it's like that's. So I'm really hoping at least this third hour of Raw is going to be.
Yeah, and
the best. Plus just the 24/7 title. I love the concept.
I do too. I was a little... When he just announced that the name was the 24/7 championship, I was like, But then, like, he started talking about, like, it can be defended on Raw and SmackDown and 205 and NXT and NXT UK.
It's like,
and Legends and Hall of Famers. I'm like, oh my God, like, there's so many people.
Which makes me wonder how they're going to try and transition it over to that, you know?
Right.
Like,
how they're going to involve, how they're going to connect everything together.
I imagine it'll probably go to 205 Live, so that way it can get... It can have a little smoother transition to the NXT brand.
Some wrestlers connect between the cruiserweights and the main roster. Some wrestlers connect between cruiserweights and NXT in UK, whatever.
Or like Raw and SmackDowns in Florida, so they're near Full Sail, and so
you're not going to see, you know, Walter come up on SmackDown and take the belt from someone.
No, it's you know, it's more of a thing for the undercard and everybody to just kind of get
which
featured.
I don't want it to stay undercard.
No, I definitely think there should be a, you know, top tier name here and there, but it's definitely more for the low.
Otherwise, like, there's always a prestige with a championship, like, no matter what, that, like, everyone wants to go for a championship, but if the whole history of the belt is that it's put on someone that never wins for 15 minutes and then someone else takes it, what's really the point of going after it? Because you're going to end up losing it, like, soon anyway. You might lose it that night. So I think once in a while it needs to be put on someone that can actually hold a title, can actually defend themselves, and then that way it might be worth more to people that finally get it off of them or whatever.
Yeah.
I heard that, you know, like, it would be a good idea to, after a few changes or whatever, put it on Lars Sullivan. And then, because they're trying to book him as this unstoppable monster, the Freak, and if he's holding a title, it's, like, hard to get off of him.
Yeah, like have a title, like, where everybody wants it until it gets on this one guy, and it's like,
I don't want it anymore.
Yeah,
sorry, nope.
I'm gonna wait a little bit.
Drake Maverick pees himself again, trying to get off Lars.
Yeah, just shove the title in the toilet again. Why not?
Pretty much. So moving on to SmackDown. One pretty noteworthy thing that happened this week is Dolph Ziggler returned. I liked it, actually, because the weird thing is, like, just earlier in the day, I was thinking to myself, I haven't seen Dolph Ziggler in a while. Like, is he still signed? Like, where is he?
Yeah, he was just taking a break.
I know he was doing his comedy stuff, but I didn't know if he was still under contract or what. But he returned this week after Kofi had his match against Sami Zayn and pinned him. Then Dolph Ziggler came out and beat the holy crap out of Kofi Kingston, setting up, which is yet to be made official, a title match between Ziggler and Kofi at Super Showdown.
I mean, it's been an It's been challenged, so yeah, it's gonna happen. Right. But that kind of leads into why I'm not really super excited for it. I thought, like, I don't know, I felt like they rushed it a little bit. Like, cool, have Dolph Ziggler attack him, whatever. But then they just had him come out later and explain his actions, and it was all just for a match at Super Showdown.
Right.
So it's like, they didn't let us wait and stew on it. Like, he could have come out next week and just had the same exact promo. Would have been fine.
Yeah.
And then, not only did they not wait, but then he was like, I challenged Kofi Kingston to a match at Super Showdown, and then that's when everybody groans. It's like, oh, cool. This is just going to be a throwaway feud for that pay-per-view that nobody really wants to watch, for, obvious reasons. So it's like, that's why I'm kind of disappointed.
Well, but it's going to be as good as or exceeding the expectations of WrestleMania?
Cool. So it's going to be 10 hours.
Whatever their tagline is.
It's going to be 10 hours long. It's going to start Friday and a week later.
If I can just play devil's advocate for a second, I actually liked that they had his beatdown and then they had his explanation in the same show, because it's such a WWE thing for someone to attack someone else and then they're like, well, you won't find out until next week. And like outside the wrestling universe, what sense does that make? It's like, if I'm gonna beat you up, like, I want you to know why I did it, like, right now, like, because I might not be angry a week from now. That's just, I don't know, that's just what I thought. So they do that pretty much all the time, and it's whatever, it's fine, but I thought this was just nice to be a little different, if I can just say that.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there.
I mean, but that being said, still the announcement that it's just going to be a throwaway championship
right, and they
match.
also only have like, what, 3 episodes between Money in the Bank and Super Showdown to build this up. If you have the motives there already, you can just do 2 more episodes of them fighting. Fine.
It's a buffer.
It's a buffer.
It's probably just going to be like a side
Something
thing.
tells me they're going to throw a swerve in the show at some point, and like there is going to be a title change, because only pretty much two matches have had any sort of build. The others were just announced.
I don't know. I kind of want to watch the Goldberg-Undertaker match.
Just because.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you could book that to where it's just big moves, and it could be over in like 5 minutes, and people could still enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it was like you would almost have to choreograph it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like here we go into this spot, into this spot, into this spot, bang, 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 and then we're over.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
I mean, I'm still gonna watch it just because, like, we're doing this whole fantasy league thing. Got to keep track of the points, and also, like, what if something big does happen?
We're counting those points?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. We agreed at the beginning. Special pay-per-views and special shows, whatever, like this, we're gonna count.
All right.
So, I don't really want to that bad, but
cool. Now I have to watch it.
you have to watch it. I'm not gonna do all the work for you.
It's like our job or something.
Yeah, it's actually not our job, but
we're hoping to make it.
We're hoping to make it our job one day. But okay,
or who knows? We might go to AEW.
We've passed a half hour, so we're gonna move on to the fantasy league points from this week. Just kind of update where we're standing. Something I didn't address, but I need to bring up now. The Money in the Bank predictions. I won those 6-5. So I have chosen to negate Kofi Kingston's points for Raw and SmackDown this week. He earned a total of 49 this week, which was the top earner of the week. But only 20 of those were earned at Money in the Bank. So he gets to keep those 20, but the other 29 he does not. As far as Jay's roster goes.
Yeah.
If someone else were keeping track, we know that no one's not yet. But if someone else was keeping track, he would still get all 49 points.
Yes.
So
we are keeping track. That is, you know, his overall points are 124, but counting for, you know, roster, he's only at 95 technically.
Right. And like usual, we'll go through the top 15. 15th place is tie between. Actually, I always do this because of the way the graph is set up on here. Tied for 14th, Finn Balor and Rowan with 33 apiece.
A weird set of people right there.
Right. 12th is a tie between the Usos. They each have 34. 10th is another tie. AJ Styles and Baron Corbin with 35. 9th is Charlotte with 36. 8th is Rey Mysterio with 38.
Man, Rey's really shooting up with that U.S. title win.
Right. Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon are tied for 6th, each with 45. Seth Rollins is in 5th. He's back up to 5th now.
Top 5, not bad.
Yeah, your Universal Champion. He has 61 points. In 4th place is Bayley. She was the second top earner this week. She got 47 this week, bringing her total to 64.
Not bad, not bad.
3rd place is Roman Reigns with 66. Becky Lynch holding strong in 2nd with 92. And Kofi with a total of 124, which after the points I've negated for your roster, he's at 95.
Yes.
So
still making him number 1 overall, though.
Yeah. So my total points for my roster is up to 659, and Jay's is at 596. Kind of weird. Yes. Same 3 digits. But
spooky.
Even if I hadn't taken Kofi's points away, I still would be pretty far in the lead. So suck it.
Hey. Watch the language.
I'll do what I want.
Oh! You get back in the lead for 1 week, and you think you're just hot stuff.
Why don't you just bow down already?
No.
Okay. Whatever. Fine. I'm not even starting a fight. All right, that's all we got time for this week. So join us next week for obviously more wrestling, more factorness, and greatness as always.
More 24/7 championship.
Great botch, dude.
I would smack you right now if we were on camera.
Do it anyway.
Can we end this already?
Yeah. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you subscribe, click that notification bell. Let you know when we upload new videos, new podcasts. We do one every week. Sometimes we do an extra video because we feel like it.
Exactly.
Watch our stuff. Watch it again.
Try and play along if you
play
want
along,
to.
dude.
Why not make your own roster? Just follow the points.
Yeah.
Just scout. Scout for the off season.
We're not getting a whole lot of fan interaction. So if you want the points, message me.
Exactly.
I'll send them to you.
We're tired of playing with ourselves. Why don't you play with us?
Okay. On that note, that's the end of the podcast. We'll see you guys next week. Later.